What a day. I think I've just learned my lesson that I'm going to put together a clipboard like a pilot with a checkoff list before I do this, because I just told a really long, involved, convoluted story. And then I was 3/4 of the way through the song, and all of a sudden I'm looking at my phone and Tim Pierce is calling me to tell me how much he's enjoying what I'm doing. Oh God, I love Tim. It was good. He's the only person that I would not be pissed off if getting a phone call in the middle of filming, because he's one of the reasons that I am here. Because he's been talking about he's been doing this now for like 10 years. He's got a great site and he does master class and all kinds of stuff. Tim's one of the finest guitar players that this music business has ever known. One of the first call players in Los Angeles, and long history of hit records and beautiful cat. But so now I'm back to zero again. I just put do not disturb on my phone and took the landline out and threw it in the bathroom. And I can't believe he didn't even tell me to do this. He just sits there like this dummy. Jesus. So today I'm gonna visit with one of the things that happened in the past 5 or 6 years to me that really has been spectacular musically and personally, is my collaborations with Judith Owen. Judith Owen is a Welsh singer-songwriter, pianist, actress, comedian. I mean, she's like a little of everything. She's a remarkable, remarkable artist. And she's married to Harry Shearer, who's the bass player in Spinal Tap and does voices on The Simpsons and NPR, or he had an NPR radio show, but he's still doing radio. And he's a kind of a remarkable character. When he talks about his history, like he was a kid and he was on the Jack Benny show and all this thing. Harry is an amazing cat, and together they're a remarkable couple. But a number of years ago, Harry did a project called The End of the Bushmen, and it was about the demise of the Bush administration. And Harry's an incredible political satirist. And so we worked on the album, and then we ended up doing a mini tour, and we ended up at Blues Alley in Seattle. And during the course of getting ready for this gig, he said, my wife would like to maybe sit in on a couple of tunes. And I had met Judith, I had seen her, but I didn't know what she did at that point. And all of a sudden, this force of nature gets on the piano and blows my mind. And we've been collaborating ever since. Shortly after that, she cut, I don't know if she's got like 17 albums by now or something like that, but she did an album called Ebb and Flow, and it was kind of an homage to like her childhood, when the family would drive around and they would listen to James Taylor and Carole King and Joni Mitchell in the car. Her father was a renowned opera singer with the Covent Garden Opera, and so they would listen to stuff, and so she wanted to do this album, and she ended up calling me and said, would you like to work on this record? And I said, absolutely, it'd be great, I'd love to do it. And then we got a hold of Russ Kunkel and Waddy Wachtel, and they said, absolutely. So they came in, and Lenny Castro played percussion on it. We cut it at Sunset Sound, which is one of the great, great old studios in Hollywood, and she really wanted to go kind of old school. We cut it all live, and it was a wonderful experience. And the thing with Judith is we all toured together doing this album, but she's the kind of artist that could sit and do solo piano and do a great show. She and I have done a lot of shows with just the two of us. We do things with Pedro Segundo, who's a wonderful percussionist from Portugal, from Lisbon. And we do things as a trio with that. And then we've had others where we bring in a string trio from London, comprised of Gabriella Swallow on violin, on cello, Lizzie Ball on violin, and Megan Cassidy on viola. And the combination of these three musicians is just stunning. So there's been like just all kinds of ways of approaching things. She's one of those just remarkable artists that works in any format. But one of the more recent albums that we did was called Rediscovered, and where she takes songs that everybody knows and then she twists them around into her own way, and it is just absolutely something to behold. The way her mind works is, for me, is always fascinating. And I'll probably in the next day or so do a few songs from that. Like she does Black Hole Sun from Soundgarden. I love that song. And when she presented it and said, let's try it this way, it suddenly turned into, it was in 5/4 and felt like Dave Brubeck was playing it. So it's just, she's a trip. But the previous album was called Somebody's Child. And she and I, we were on tour in Germany. And we were in Berlin and went to the Berlin Wall, what's left of it, and just kind of walked and thought and talked. And when we got back to her house in London, I was sitting at the piano, which is because I have my bass with me, and Harry has a little amp there. And I started playing a lick, and next thing I know, she's written a song. And we're going to do that, and it's called Arianne. But before that, if you get a chance and you're in Berlin, go to the Radisson Blu Hotel in Berlin. Just walk in the lobby and look up, because above where you check in is one of the biggest aquariums you will ever see. I walked in and there's frogmen in there cleaning it, swimming around with all the fish. It is like the most astounding thing. Berlin's always astounded me. I was there before the Berlin Wall came down and went through Checkpoint Charlie and wandered around East Berlin. And then when we went back to Berlin with Phil Collins in 1990 to do our Live in Berlin show, the wall had come down at that point, and wandering around over there was surreal to think of a couple of years earlier when I had been there. I think I was with James Taylor there, and just seeing the dramatic change that took place. And I grabbed a chunk of wall, and I've got it sitting in the house here. Not big, but it's such a incredible time in history, and it was so great to see, this barricade down and people just all living together there. So it was something pretty special. But I'm going to do Arianne, and it starts with me. So I'm gonna start the thing going, and I'll just get in as quick as I can. I need to get a little remote unit or something just to turn on the phone here. So here we go.
Loving some forgiveness when you put the baton down.
get there in time, but yep. So that's Arianne, and it's, like I said, it's mostly just harmonics and a part with Pedro playing percussion on it, and Judith, and it was so much fun. I mean, it just came about in a second. You know, I just started playing the. Things just but I love this. It's really a sweet bass. So Judith Owen, check her out if you are not aware of Judith. She is a force to be reckoned with. And the new album's just incredible. I mean, it's really some good. She did a version of Earth, Wind, and Fire of September that was written by the late Allie Willis, which breaks my heart to say. Allie was a dear, dear friend, and she just passed away recently. But she wrote September for Earth, Wind, and Fire, and Judith's version of it's really incredible. But I'll jump into a couple of other of Judith's songs too. I had some people writing, going, you know, they really loved the Amanda Marshall thing, so I might do another one of hers. And I'm looking at all kinds of material. I mean, there's a wealth of material. There's just not a wealth of brain power to revisit all these songs. But I'm going to do my best out there because I'm just digging it. And really? I think I'm getting insane here. I think he whispers to me while I'm playing. I'm not sure what's going on back here, but I'm going to give Tim Pierce a call now and finish the conversation that started in the middle of my last performance. I've really got, like I said, got to put a checklist together and make sure I've got all these things shut down, because it's really hard to come back and revisit them a second time. It's like being in the studio. You know, usually my first take when I'm working on a project, once I've dialed the song in, or I've sketched out a little chart or whatever's going on, I usually fly by the seat of my pants. And so my first take is generally my best take. And after that, it turns into slightly diminishing returns for me. Where I'm looking at a chart, and the first time through it, it was like all emotion and stuff. And then by the 8th take, depending on the project, I'm sitting here thinking, isn't it fascinating how my eyes look at that piece of paper, and then it conveys and turns these, and then I'm going, what the hell? I mean, I'm completely lost at that point. Because I don't know if I've played the bridge yet or not. I'm just lost in the technology and the physiology of it, rather than the pure visceral response that I have on the first, maybe the second take. Like when we did Spectrum, that's all first and second takes on that thing. That is just raw, brutal energy. And with Judith, we tried to capture the same thing on all the recordings that we do, is we really try to nail them in the first take, and generally we do. So you take good care. It's the beginning of a new week. We are in May. May was always a fun month for me because my sister's birthday is the 14th. My late father's birthday was the 19th. Mine's the 28th. So it all piles up into May. But it's just a beautiful day outside, and I've done all my errands and my dog walk and everything this morning. I went to a bunch of different places, went to Ace Hardware, picked up some stuff that I need for a project around the house. And I walk in again, and boy, everybody in there, they've got spaces marked out, and everybody's wearing gloves and face masks and everything. So people are trying to be really diligent about this. And I've had people writing in, thanking me for these shout outs every day, which, Jesus, it is my privilege to do this. But all kinds of people that are writing and going, yeah, I mean, I'm like a groundskeeper at a park, and we're trying to maintain the parks and stuff so that when things open up and people are allowed back in the parks. I mean, there's so many different layers. This is like peeling an onion when you really look at what's going on in this world right now. And everybody, to the best of their ability, is trying to be positive and contributing. There's a pile of knuckleheads out there, but you can't, there's not much you can do about that if, people are just going to be what they're going to be. But for the most part, I'm really seeing people being as conscientious and diligent as possible for the sake of everybody, which is great. Let's not be selfish. Let's really look at this as a community issue. So shout out to everybody who's doing it. You are remarkable souls, and we thank you every day. And I will be back tomorrow. I was just noticing a note I had made about a really interesting happen. This will be, drummers will dig this. This is pretty mind-blowing. But so I will see you tomorrow. And I'm going to shut off and go out there and take some of that stuff I bought at Ace Hardware and put it to good use. So see you tomorrow.